Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good podcast, where we try to bring you good, strong information about what's going on in public education. And it just so happens we're talking about things happening at Legacy, but these are just the same type of things that are happening in all public education schools across Texas. Today, we're going to focus on something that may not sound educational. We're going to talk about summer nutrition for kids, but it does involve education because when kids' brains are well fed, they learn better. And so it's a not so hidden agenda to have kids be as healthy as they can so that they can learn better and get stronger academically faster. So let's start. Well, first of all, before I forget, I heard something today on the radio about an article that was talking about brain development. And did you know that the more hugs a kid gets, the faster their brain develops? So that's a free and easy way to help kids develop their brains. And you know, I bet something else develops with parents and kids who hug a lot. There's more than brain development going on. There's a whole lot of good relationship building as well. So I wanted to remember to say that. I also want to remember to talk about our summer feeding sites. Not all of our students have lots of food in the home. And so the schools, as you know, during the school year, step in and we give breakfast and lunch. So to make sure that our children and other children in the city get enough food during the summer, we have summer feeding sites available. We're going to have the links available to you and also the nearby sites to both schools on our Facebook page, probably at the end of today, so that you can also know if you have friends, if you have the situation where you need a place for an extra meal every day for your children, and that's for any age children up to 18, and they don't ask for ID. So you don't have to live in the area. You just have to be the correct age, and they will feed the child. So please know that those sites are available, and you can, let's see, for more information, you can call 211, or you can text, and the number is 877-877, and you text foodtx. Food Texas, and that's also in the Facebook post today, so you don't have to remember it all. Just go to our Facebook post that is attached to this podcast, and you'll be able to get that information. Okay, so we're going to talk about nutrition, so let's start talking about what we used to know as good nutrition. The government had started something 100 years ago called the food pyramid, and the food pyramid had undergone several changes, but the changes were not really clear, and actually America as a whole has sort of gotten more obese despite the government's food pyramid. So the government hasn't since changed to something called MyPlate. And MyPlate is a new alternative to the food pyramid. Now, before we go into MyPlate, why am I also talking so much about nutrition for kids? Well, because frankly, you can now see it, and it's very easy to find sites that tell you that when children eat poorly, those habits are taken into adulthood and can lead to cancer. There are definite ties now to poor eating that leads to cancer. And so helping our kids learn good eating habits today, not only because it's good for their brain, but it's good for future health, is what drives me. I want to make sure that our kids have not only a good start, but stay healthy, productive citizens after they graduate. So how can we prevent cancer? You're not going to hear a lot of new things, I hope, and maybe you won't have to make a lot of changes, but I'll quickly read some of the headlines in the How to Prevent Cancer. cut out trans fat. And so you would have to read on the labels what are good fats and what are bad fats, but and good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. But it says try using cooking spray because you use less oil, and olive oil, coconut oil instead of vegetable oil and canola oil. Vegetable oil and canola oil are almost 100% GMO, which that means that the vegetables that it was derived from is genetically modified organisms. That sounds bad, doesn't it? Now, why should we stay away from GMOs? Well, because frankly, scientifically altered food without enough research, right now we don't have enough research to know if the GMO foods are good for us, good for the animals that are eating GMO food, and the environment. So because we don't have enough research to tell us one way or the other, let's have you stay away from it as much as possible. So try to use coconut oil, and that has a higher heat capacity, and then olive oil. Those are good ones. All right, it also says eat more fruits and vegetables, no surprise there. Cut back on salt, cut back on refined grains, and what that means is eat less white rice, pasta, and bread. Choose whole grain products, and so if you don't like the taste of whole grain pasta or brown rice, try alternatives such as quinoa, couscous, and bulgur for changes. And let's see. Oh, here's an interesting one. Replace meat and poultry in your favorite recipes with beans, lentils, or fish. But of course, you know, fish, you have to watch out for the farm raised. So to be a good food buyer in today's world, you have to read labels, and you have to keep up with what's safe out there and what's not safe. But what's interesting, there's a movement to moving away from eating so much meat. Try low-fat dairy products, cut out sugary drinks. You know, a lot of our juices for kids have more sugar in them than the natural juices that, if they were natural juices. So many of our drinks are artificially flavored, artificially colored, and have extra sugar in them. So not good. Let's see, and parents, some coffee drinks that appeals to our sweet tooth can have all the calories of a whole meal. Some of those lattes have over 1,000 calories in them. That's half of your daily caloric intake. Gradually reduce portion size, no food with screen time, and more outdoor activities. You've heard me say that before. Don't let kids and adults snack while watching TV or using the computer. Eating in front of the TV or computer always results in mindless eating. And schedule regular meal times. When you schedule regular meal times, you have then regularly scheduled snack times, which we're going to talk about more snacking at the end. So let's move on from there. So how do you get your kids to eat healthier foods? You plan your meals in advance. You don't bring home the bad stuff. The 4 C's. Cake, candy, cookies, or chips need to be a treat, maybe at birthdays, but not in the house on a regular basis. And then, of course, having healthy alternatives. And here's a funny one. Use appealing descriptions for vegetables. So a 2017 study found that how you describe vegetables affects how it will be eaten. So instead of saying, we're having green beans, you can try a more enticing description such as sweet, sizzling green beans with crisp almonds. You'll have to find the right ones for your own kids. I don't know that those would work for mine. Beware of processed foods. You've heard me talk about processed foods, but processed foods has now evolved from processed foods to ultra-processed foods. And what that means is you have processed foods, which is having 2 or 3 ingredients, and but the ultra-processed foods are typically foods that are more than 5 ingredients, at least some of which are additives and preservatives. So let's see, based on these categories, processed foods are simple foods with only 2 or 3 ingredients which have been preserved or cooked, such as cheese and roasted nuts. Ultra-processed foods and beverages made with additives and ingredients that you would not typically cook with, For example, packaged foods that you buy in the supermarket, ice cream, most yogurts, crackers, packaged bread, packaged snacks, and frozen meals such as TV dinners. Most are high in fat, sugar, and salt, low in fiber and vitamins, and contains food preservatives. So a 2018 study of more than 100,000 adults found that people who ate more ultra-processed foods were more likely to develop cancer, especially breast cancer. You have to avoid misleading health claims. You know, a lot of foods claim to be healthy, but they have preservatives, they have additives, they have high sugar content. Just because they're a granola bar doesn't mean it's healthy, frankly. Matter of fact, one of the things that we find now is that the soccer team snack, which usually consists of something like a bag of Cheez-Its and a granola bar and Gatorade, contains a quarter of what that child should be eating calorically for the day, and very high sugar, carbs, and salt. So it's not a healthy snack at all for after a game or practice. And really, there's a movement out there by a snackivist out in Tennessee who is trying to get coaches to just ask parents to bring water and maybe remember the orange quarters, or it could be apples with almond butter or peanut butter, things like that that are more healthy and actually maybe less, I was going to say less troublesome. There is that cutting up thing, but it's just healthier. And very few kids exercise to the point of needing more electrolytes, and the Gatorade has so many artificial things in it that it's not worth it to drink it. And transition slowly. If your family used to eating a lot of fast foods and processed foods, your kids will need to transition slowly off there. And so, start adding fruits and vegetables over time, reducing portion size, and cooking more at home. And get your children involved in the kitchen. That's really probably the fastest way for you to be able to transition your kids away from processed foods and fast food. Oh, okay. I know it's been a little, these are tough things to hear sometimes, but the outcome is going to be so much better for your kids. So let's go on. I said that I was going to come back to MyPlate, which is the new alternative to the food pyramid. And what it is a plate that has 4 unequal sections to represent different food groups. Vegetables make up the largest section, followed by grains. Fruits and vegetables fill half the plate, while proteins and grains fill the other half. One of the most noticeable things about the MyPlate is that it includes no distinct meat section. We've heard that before, right? Instead, protein includes fish, shellfish, eggs, beans, peas, nuts, and seeds in addition to meat. So you're seeing a movement away from the constant need to put meat on our plate while replacing that protein with other vegetable type, or I should call them legumes, right? So beans, lentils, peanuts, and so forth. That is, that's sort of an interesting movement that the government is quietly recommending. Many of you are going to be surprised by that, but the government often does not want to make too much noise around moving away from meat and dairy, because the food industry, the beef industry, the milk dairy, the dairy lobby, they get upset when the government makes these kind of changes. So that's why this is quietly being put out there. All right, now let's see. So in addition to recognizing the benefits of a plant-based diet, another big change is the elimination of the oil sections. So they used to have an oil section on the food pyramid, and they've done away with that. They have a small circle for dairy, but the critics to MyPlate say that dairy is not necessary for a healthy diet. So critics also say it's important to give information about the size of the plate, because research shows that the larger the plate, the more you put on the plate, the more people eat. So psychologically, using a smaller plate will help reduce portion size. And what does the government say for MyPlate to do? And that is, and I'm doing this on purpose, make half your plates fruits and vegetables. Switch to 1% skim milk. Half your grains should be whole grains. Vary your protein. Watch out for sodium, saturated fat, and added sugars. Get more physical activity. So you're hearing a lot of the same thing because that's what they're now understanding needs to happen as far as how to eat healthier and in the long run prevent cancer. Because again, I've said this before, it's out there now that 1 in 2 men will get cancer, 1 in 3 women will get cancer. So those odds are very high based on the way people are eating today. All right, now the next thing I want to talk about is the best and worst food picks at summer venues. Summer venues are places where families tend to go during the summer. That is baseball games, the ballpark, amusement parks, and so forth. So let's see. At a ballpark, peanuts in the shell are good for, of course, kids that aren't allergic. And even though they're a little bit high in calories, but they have good protein and fiber. So it makes up for the calories. The worst bet, slush puppies, is 1,300 calories and 25 grams of sugar. And it's artificially colored beverage, and it doesn't fill you up. If you're hungry, eating a slush puppy is not going to keep quiet the rumbles of the stomach. So stay away from there. Pool snack bar. The best bet is a grilled chicken sandwich, as long as it's actually the chicken breast and not a patty, because, you know, patties tend to be pieces of the other parts of the chicken sort of compressed together. The worst bet are the onion rings dropped in heavy batter before hitting the fryer. These grease bombs are literally dripping in trans fat. Usually they are fried in vegetable oil or canola. I guess vanilla is half vegetable and half canola. All right, fast food rest stops. The best bet for fast food, Taco Bell, is the bean burrito. It has 370 calories and 14 grams of protein. At McDonald's, it's the fruit and yogurt parfait, which only has 150 calories. The worst bet is the Taco Bell skip the extra large grilled stuffed burrito, which has 860 calories. Whoa. Amusement park, the best bet is the corn on the cob. So it has 200 calories and 6 grams of protein. We don't often think of our vegetables having protein, but they do. Matter of fact, you know, I'm vegetarian and I rely a lot on green peas and mushrooms. Mushrooms have protein as well. And the worst bet is the funnel cake. It's 760 calories of blobby dough, deep fried in hydrogenated oil and coated in powdered sugar. Enough said. So this is, again, not to ruin every amusement trip for kids, amusement park trip for kids, but to put parents on notice that every once in a while it's great to be able to indulge, but to not make this a habit, which leads to bad habits. Some more. Let's see. Popcorn at a ballpark. A jumbo size has 1,400 calories, I guess because of all that hydrogenated oil, pretend butter that they put on there. A small bag of buttered popcorn holds 5 cups. That holds 5 cups has 470 calories, 35 grams of fat. Yikes. And let's see, a large 20-cup bucket of buttered popcorn has 1,640 calories, 126 grams of fat. Wow. 3.5 cups of kettle corn, 245 calories, 6 grams of fat. So I guess if you wanted to have popcorn, the kettle corn is the one to get. Soft pretzel has 483 calories and 5 grams of fat. The giant soft pretzel, 7 to 8 ounces, is 700 calories. Let's see. Ice cream. So your team's mini helmet filmed with swirled ice cream has 550 to 590 calories. A Fudgesicle fudge bar has 100 calories, so there's a good alternative. Klondike has 250 calories, 17 grams of fat, 18 grams of sugar. Oh, I could go on and on. Coke, 218 calories for a small. 44 ounces for Coke is 534 calories. You're getting my drift. It's just not a good idea. And they list the candy here. You know that none of that's good. Anywhere from 7 grams of fat all the way to, what's the highest? Reese's Pieces, 8 ounce, has 60 grams of fat. 1,160 calories. Ooh. So you might want to remember to bring your own snacks to your picnics and ballparks and all that. All right. So I know that, again, this has been tough hearing, but a healthier you and a healthier family means less doctor visits, better attendance at school, and more learning going on. So self-snacking, our last thing to talk about today is self-snacking. Some kids will be home, some kids will be home during the summer, and we wanted to know, is it a good idea for parents just to leave the cabinets open to kids being able to grab their snacks whenever they want? So there's two parts to this answer of this, are self-serve snacks good idea for kids? And that is, well, perpetual munching can lead to mindless eating and overeating. It creates kids who are never actually hungry. And when kids aren't hungry at mealtime, they don't eat the right things, and they won't try new things either. So there's that downside. But how do we train kids then to eat correctly and to snack correctly? Well, one of the things to do is to, first of all, remember having your regularly scheduled meals. So everybody knows that dinner is at 6, let's say. So that means that our last snack should be around 4, right? So we would have maybe a morning snack, then there's lunch at 12, and then we have a snack at 2, and we eat, let's see, a snack at 3 or 4, and then we eat dinner at 6. So what if we have a child who, especially our boys, who tend to be hungrier than girls, and especially when they reach teenhood, what happens with them who literally think they're going to die in that last hour before dinner? Well, then we have vegetables for them. We have carrots and celery, and that's the deal. If you're that hungry, then you will eat these healthy snacks. They'll fill you up. They will give you good nutrition, and it will help you, make it till dinner time. But we have to sit down with our children ahead of time. A lot of this involves making sure that we involve our children in the decision making and the planning and the choosing of the healthy meals and the healthy snacks that we're going to do this summer. And of course all year, but we'll practice this summer and get it right. So have kids maybe either listening to this podcast or just trusting you to tell them that you're going to make some food changes during the summer. Summer's the time to sort of think about eating less because, it's hot outside, and when you eat big old meals, you tend to feel bloated and sluggish and so forth. So this is a really good time to start thinking about making some changes to one's family food diet. And so sit down with your children, talk about moving away from some of the unhealthier practices that may have evolved, and then come up with a food plan for the week. On Sunday, you can do food prep. I do food prep. I get myself ready for the week. I have things I prepare for my breakfast. I have my teas that I do. And I just know that when I do that, I have a more comfortable week. And there's something nice about just being able to open up the freezer, open up the fridge, and know that that's already been prepared. And I can go home and not have too much time in food prep each weekday because I did that on Sunday. But again, involving your children in the decision making always makes for a easier time of it. Kids who are involved in their food prep tend to eat the food at a higher rate than if you just try to force them to eat it because you said so. We all know how that works, right? So, we've talked a lot today about how to manage our summer food program with our families. I would love for you to be able to share with us in the comment section what new understandings, what ahas, what new practices you're going to try to implement this summer. And then we may revisit that in the fall. So thank you for being here. I always appreciate people who take the time to listen and try to gain new information. It makes it worth it to spend this time. Thank you and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Dr. Be Good show. For more information on Legacy Preparatory Charter Schools, visit our website, legacypca.com, or call 469-249-1099. And remember to like us on Facebook, where we stream live weekly Tuesdays at 3 p.m.